I never thought I'd be writing a story like this, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I thought I was married to the girl of my dreams, Emma. We'd been together for about 3 years, and everything seemed perfect at first. She was beautiful, smart, charming, everything I ever wanted. We met pretty young, and I genuinely thought we had something special. I mean, she made me feel like I was the only guy in the world. We talked about getting married, having kids, building a life together. It all seemed so solid, so real. But then the signs started popping up. Small stuff at first. She'd be secretive about her phone, always quick to change the screens when I walked into the room. She'd get defensive if I ever asked who she was texting, and sometimes she'd cancel plans last minute, saying she wasn't feeling well or she had to work late. I brushed it off. I told myself everyone has their secrets, and maybe she was just busy or stressed. But then she started lying about little things, small, insignificant lies at first, but enough to make me suspicious. One night I was walking past her phone on the kitchen counter and saw a message from someone named Jake. It was just a quick, "Can't wait to see you tonight," but something about it felt off. I asked Emma who Jake was, and she immediately got defensive, saying he was just a coworker, nothing serious. I believed her at first. She's good at lying, I'll give her that. But I noticed she was acting weird afterward, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, acting overly innocent. That's when I started paying more attention. Then came the biggest shock of all. About 2 weeks before the wedding, Emma told me she was pregnant. She kept insisting it was mine, and honestly, I wanted to believe her. We'd been careful, but she said she'd been feeling sick and tired, and she even showed me a pregnancy test. I was over the moon. Finally, we were starting our new chapter. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I kept asking her questions about the timing, the symptoms, everything, but she'd brush me off, get mad if I pressed too hard. The wedding itself was a blur of happiness and chaos. Everyone congratulating us, family doing their usual fussing, and Emma acting like she was glowing with joy. But behind her smile, I could see a flicker of something else, like she was hiding a secret. I remember looking at her during the reception, and she caught my eye for a split second. Her face was too stiff, her smile too forced. I just felt this strange sense of unease, but I shrugged it off, thinking maybe I was just nervous about the big day. After the wedding, things changed even more. She started acting distant, cold, and unresponsive. That's when I noticed her phone was constantly glued to her hand, even more than before. She'd go out with her friends and come back late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. One day, I decided to take her phone while she was in the shower, just to see if I could find anything that explained her recent behavior. I didn't plan to go looking through her messages, but I couldn't help myself. And what I saw, what I found, shattered me completely. I scrolled through her messages and immediately spotted texts from Jake. But that wasn't all. There were photos too, pictures of them together, hidden in a folder labeled Memories on her cloud. They were intimate, snuggling on her bed, kissing behind the back of the restaurant where they met, her in a way I'd never seen her with me. My stomach dropped. My mind raced. I couldn't believe it. They'd been cheating on me during our supposed wedding week. While I was out celebrating with family, Emma was sneaking around with Jake. I saw how they'd planned it, messages talking about meeting up, sharing secret jokes, how she'd lie about her pregnancy to keep me hooked. All the while, she was planning her betrayal behind my back. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. How could she do this? How could she lie about being pregnant, about her love for me? And the worst part, she was doing it with my own brother, Ryan. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight, my hands trembling. I stared at the screen, replaying everything I thought I knew about Emma and Ryan, thinking about the times I caught them texting late at night, about the times Emma would get mad if I questioned her. All the missing pieces suddenly snapped into place. She'd been lying to my face the entire time. The pregnancy, the love, the plans for the future, none of it was real. It was all a lie, a well-orchestrated betrayal. I sat there in shock, trying to process what I'd just seen. My mind was spinning with rage, with heartbreak, with a sense of utter betrayal. I needed to confront her. I knew I couldn't keep this quiet. Not anymore. I waited until she returned from work that evening, her phone buzzing constantly, probably from Jake or Ryan again. I had the evidence in my hand, and I was ready to blow everything apart. When she finally walked in, I was already waiting, my face cold and steady. "Emma," I said, voice trembling with a mixture of fury and heartbreak. She looked surprised, caught off guard, but she quickly recovered, putting on that fake bitchy smile she always had. "What's going on? Why are you looking at me like that?" I pulled out her phone and showed her the messages and photos. Her face twisted into a sneer. "You've been lying to me all along. You've been cheating on me with Ryan, haven't you? During our wedding week, while I was planning the damn wedding, you were in bed with my own brother. How could you lie so easily?" She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh, please, Mike, you're overreacting. It's not a big deal. Ryan and he's just a distraction. I told you I was pregnant because I didn't want you to get suspicious. I was planning to tell you the truth, but you never asked me directly. And honestly, I don't see what's so horrible about a little fun here and there. Maybe you should lighten up." That's when the anger finally exploded in me. I'd never felt this kind of rage before. The betrayal, the lies, the way she dismissed it like it was nothing. My whole world was crumbling. She called my feelings overreacting, like I was some jealous idiot, but I wasn't jealous. I was furious, heartbroken, shattered. All I wanted was to scream at her, to make her understand how much she'd hurt me, how much she'd ruined everything. I told her she was a selfish bitch and I needed her gone from my life. The confrontation ended with her storming out of the house, calling me crazy and accusing me of being paranoid. But I knew the truth now, and that changed everything. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I trusted her with my life, and she'd betrayed me during the most important week of my life. It was a brutal wake-up call, and I didn't know how I was going to come back from this. All I knew was that I'd never forgive her, and I'd definitely never forgive Ryan either. The pain was so deep, I didn't think I'd ever get past it. The days that followed felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. After confronting Emma and seeing her dismiss my pain as if it was nothing, I just shut down. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. All I could do was replay everything in my head, her lies, the betrayal, the way she looked when she was lying to my face. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind that I didn't see the truth right in front of me. It was like I'd been living with a mask on, and now that I saw her for who she really was, everything was a mess. I tried to talk to Ryan, my brother, just to get his side. I didn't want to believe that he'd do something so cruel, but the evidence was too clear. I called him that night, voice strained, trying to keep my composure. "Ryan," I said, trying to sound calm, "did you really sleep with my wife during our wedding week?" There was a silence on the other end, then he finally mumbled something about how it just happened, how she'd come on to him, how he still cares about her. Yeah, right. It was classic blame shifting. I could tell he was trying to make himself feel better about what he did. The betrayal cut even deeper knowing it was my own brother. I thought he was better than that. I thought we had a bond, but apparently not. I kept replaying everything. How Emma lied about the pregnancy, how she manipulated everyone around her, including me. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for thinking she was someone I could build a life with. That week, our wedding week, was supposed to be the happiest of my life. It turned into my worst nightmare. I started questioning everything, myself, my judgment, my future. I was furious at Emma for lying, furious at Ryan for cheating, and most of all furious at the whole situation for ruining what should have been the best time of my life. I thought about confronting her again, but I knew she'd just lie her way out of it, spin some bullshit excuse. Honestly, I didn't even want to hear her anymore. The damage was done. In the days that followed, I decided I had to take control. I couldn't let her or Ryan destroy me. I started packing my things, thinking about what to do next. I knew I couldn't stay in this house and pretend everything was okay. I needed space to breathe, to think. I also reached out to a lawyer just to understand my options. I didn't want to rush into anything, but I knew I couldn't stay married to someone who lied, cheated, and betrayed me so deeply. One night, I sat alone in what used to be our living room, holding the evidence she'd left behind, her phone, the pictures, the messages. I looked at everything and felt a mixture of rage and sadness. How could she be so cold, so manipulative? All the love I had given her, all the plans we made, she threw it all away for some affair with my brother, and then she lied about her pregnancy to keep me hooked. It was sick. I kept asking myself if I ever truly knew her or if I'd just been blind to who she really was. That night I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her or Ryan ruin me. I was going to take back control of my life, no matter how hard it was. I knew there was going to be a long road ahead, filled with pain and anger, but I also knew I had to move on. I couldn't let her win by dragging me down into this mess. I'd start over, rebuild, and find a way to get past all this. But for now, I just sat there, feeling numb, trying to process what came next. The following weeks were a blur of emotion and decision-making. I kept the evidence close, hiding it in a safe spot where she wouldn't find it. Every time I looked at it, I felt that familiar surge of anger, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd given her everything, my trust, my love, my future, and she had thrown it all away for some affair with Ryan. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever feel normal again. I started seeing a therapist, not because I thought I needed help, but because I knew I couldn't handle this alone. Talking helped, even if just a little. My therapist told me to focus on myself, to give myself time to grieve and process, but part of me was already planning my next move. I knew I had to confront the situation head-on, but I hadn't yet decided whether that was through legal action or just cutting her out of my life entirely. One afternoon, I decided I'd had enough of the waiting game. I called her, told her I wanted to talk face to face. When she arrived, she looked surprisingly calm, too calm, honestly, like she had already prepared her next move. I didn't hold back. I told her I knew everything, the affair, the pregnancy lie, the texts, the photos. Her reaction was a perfect display of her bitchy attitude. She scoffed and rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting, Mike. It's not a big deal. People cheat, people lie. You're just jealous because you're insecure." That was the moment I snapped. "No, Emma. You're the one who's insecure. You're the one who lied and cheated and manipulated everyone. You lied about being pregnant, about loving me, about everything. I trusted you and you played me for a fool." My voice trembled, but I kept going. "And your excuse, that people cheat, that it's not a big deal. You're disgusting. I should have seen it coming. You're a selfish, manipulative bitch who only cares about herself." She looked at me with that icy stare, then with a sneer said, "You're just mad because you got caught. Ryan and I, yeah, we messed around, but it's not like you're perfect either. Maybe if you'd been paying more attention, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere." That's when I realized she was trying to turn everything around, make me out to be the bad guy. Typical Emma, blame everyone but herself. I stood there, feeling a mix of rage and heartbreak. I knew I couldn't stay with someone like her. I told her to leave, and she did with that haughty attitude, as if she had already won. I watched her walk out the door, feeling emptier than ever. That was the moment I knew I'd reached a point of no return. I couldn't forgive her, couldn't forget what she did. The woman I loved had betrayed me during the most important week of my life, all because she was selfish, manipulative, and downright bitchy. The hardest part was realizing how deeply I'd been played. I thought I knew her. I thought she loved me. But she'd been planning this whole betrayal for months, maybe longer. It was a cold, calculated move to get what she wanted, her affair, her pregnancy, her new life with Ryan. And all I was left with was the wreckage of my trust and the feeling that I'd been used as a pawn in her sick game. In the aftermath, I decided to cut ties completely. No contact, no explanations. I changed my phone number, started focusing on myself. I needed to heal, to rebuild my life without her in it. The pain was brutal, but I knew I had to move forward, no matter how much it stung. I kept thinking about what I could have done differently, but ultimately I realized it wasn't about me, it was about her choices. And her choices had destroyed everything we had. Now I'm just trying to piece my life back together, piece by piece. It's going to take time, and I know scars like these don't heal overnight. But I also know I deserve better. I deserve someone who doesn't lie or cheat or manipulate me. That's the hardest lesson I've learned. Trust is a fragile thing, and once it's broken, repairing it seems impossible. The only thing I can do now is look ahead and find a way to move past this mess. The months that followed were the toughest of my life. I threw myself into work and tried to block out the pain, but every day I woke up with this emptiness that I couldn't shake. I kept replaying everything: the betrayal, the lies, the way she dismissed my feelings like they weren't worth anything. It made me question my own judgment, made me wonder if I was ever truly happy with her or just pretending to be. I had to face friends and family who knew about the wedding, knew about the pregnancy, and now knew everything I'd uncovered. Some of them were supportive, some were disappointed in Emma, but most just stayed quiet, not sure what to say. I did want their pity. Honestly, I didn't want anyone's opinion. I just wanted to be left alone to figure out how to rebuild from this. The thing that kept eating at me was how I'd trusted her, how I'd thought she was different from all the other women who just played games. One day, I decided I couldn't keep running from it. I needed closure, some kind of final act that would let me move on. I reached out to my lawyer just to get some advice about the legal side of things. I wasn't planning a full-blown divorce right away, but I wanted to know what options I had if I decided to cut her out completely. The process was complicated, especially with her lying about the pregnancy and everything, but I knew I had to do it. I couldn't go on living in this limbo, holding on to hope that maybe she'd change. I also started seeing a therapist regularly, not because I thought I was crazy, but because I needed to process all these feelings: anger, sadness, betrayal. Talking helped a little, but there was still this gnawing pain that wouldn't go away. I kept asking myself, how could someone I loved so much do this to me? How could she lie about being pregnant? How could she cheat on me with Ryan, my own brother? It was a lot to take in, and I wondered if I'd ever really get past it. Then came the moment I knew I had to make a decision, whether to fight for the marriage or to walk away for good. I sat down one night, alone in my apartment, and looked at all the evidence I had collected, the messages, the photos, everything. I felt a surge of anger again, but also a strange sense of clarity. I realized I'd been holding on to a false hope that maybe she'd admit everything, that she'd come clean and somehow try to fix things. But deep down, I knew that wasn't going to happen. She'd lied to my face for so long, and I couldn't trust her anymore. Not ever. So I made up my mind. No more games, no more false hope. I was done. I was going to file for divorce and cut her out of my life completely. I knew it wouldn't be easy. There would be legal battles, maybe even emotional fallout, but I couldn't keep living in this prison of betrayal and lies. I deserved better. I deserved someone who wouldn't treat me like a fool. It was a brutal realization, and honestly, it hurt like hell. But I also knew that holding on to her, to that false version of love, was only hurting me more. I had to let go. This was the end of our story, no matter how much it hurt. Sometimes the only way to heal is to completely sever the ties that bind you to the pain, and that's what I was determined to do. I was going to move forward, one step at a time, no matter how hard it was, because I refused to let her or Ryan ruin me any longer. Looking back now, I realized that the whole experience changed me in ways I didn't expect. I used to believe in loyalty, trust, and the idea that love was unconditional. But what I learned is that some people are capable of deception on a scale that's hard to comprehend. Emma wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively manipulative, lying about her pregnancy, playing the victim when she got caught, and even involving my own brother in her twisted game. That kind of betrayal stays with you even after you've moved on. The divorce finally went through a few months later. It was messy, full of legal battles and bitter words, but ultimately I won the freedom I desperately needed. I cut all contact with Emma and with Ryan. I couldn't look at either of them without feeling that deep, gnawing anger. I told myself I'd find someone better, someone who wouldn't lie or betray me, someone worthy of my love and trust. That hope is what keeps me going now, even through the pain. What I want to tell anyone reading this is that you can't ignore the signs. Trust your gut. If someone is hiding things, lying, or acting suspicious, don't dismiss it as paranoia or jealousy. Because the truth has a way of coming out, and when it does, it's usually uglier than you ever imagined. And when you're faced with betrayal like this, don't be afraid to walk away. No matter how much it hurts, no matter how much you loved them, sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let go. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I've learned that life goes on, even after something as devastating as this. And most importantly, I've learned that I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, things I'll never accept being taken for granted again. It's been a long road to get here, but I finally feel like I'm moving forward, rebuilding piece by piece. And even though the scars will stay, so will the lessons. Trust is fragile, but life, eventually, will find a way to heal.